Hey, what's up guys? Jacob here.
And I'm Selina.
And this is Frame Invaders. We just finished watching The Odyssey in IMAX.
Yes.
Not 70 millimeter.
Unfortunately, but it sold out everywhere and we did not want to wait. So
Look,
we're like,
I had the chance to buy the tickets, but we were right up against the screen and
that's not a way to
I didn't want to take that risk and get a broken neck after the film. So yeah guys, it is very late. We're recording this reaction just out of the theater basically. We did a phone version of this which we'll be posting. You'll see that before this video definitely. And yeah, honestly, thought the film was great. Action was great. Storytelling was great. I didn't even mind the casting for the most part. I think my first initial thought was, okay, casting's a little bit weird. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the characters, didn't really, that we thought were going to be prevalent in the film weren't really.
Yeah.
And before we go into spoilers, we'll do like a non-spoiler, so we give some time before we get into like spoiler talk. But I personally believe that this is going to be, I think film of the year, one of the contenders. We still have Dune to come. We still have Spider-Man coming soon.
Yeah.
Doomsday. There's a lot of films coming this year, which is crazy. A lot featuring Tom Holland somehow.
and Zendaya and
like
Robert
4
Pattinson.
films. John Bernthal. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. But yeah, it was a great film. I think what they did really well with was the epic scale of everything. I feel like the water scenes, the creatures that we're seeing, the giants and things like that that we saw in the trailer.
As well, I thought it was action-packed. Seeing Travis Scott was kind of funny to me. Yeah, it was really funny. And once we get into the spoiler part of this video, I'll explain why. But other than that, I think it was actually really cool. I did not mind the accents. I know a lot of people were saying that like the accents are kind of funny, and then he's saying father and then dad, but it did not really matter in the whole scheme of this movie. Like it did not matter.
It goes by so quick that you're not really thinking about that. By the time you hear that, you're like, oh, I'm already locked in because it's a fantasy, and this is all mythological. So
yeah, and looking at like the sound design, honestly, and the what do you call it? Like the costume design, everything else, like it's just really beautifully put together that you don't really mind like not hearing or like hearing the actual, I guess, accent that you would be expecting for those times.
So we're gonna get into the spoiler talk now, and we're not gonna keep this very formatted, but we'll start with what we actually like, maybe what we don't like, and just kind of go on from there, different things off and on. We'll try to leave some timestamps if we can, if it makes it easier. But right off the jump, I think one of the best things in the film is actually the water scenes, and it's such a weird niche thing that I was just looking at the whole time because I feel like we're at a point in time now where we get a lot of good water shots, ocean shots, and all kinds of movies. But
we have
this,
Avatar, of course, so we see that.
But this was like visceral. You were there. You're in the water. You're with them.
Yeah,
there was multiple scenes. Really. You're right in there. And thinking about the IMAX camera, of how they were able to do this as well, which I'll talk about the camera later. But just thinking about all these different things in the film on the water was tough. I think a big chunk of this movie actually happens on water, which is impressive. Obviously CGI, but I think they did it so well. Yeah. I don't know how much of it was practical or CGI, but because of the camera, I feel like a lot of it was CGI.
Definitely.
But
especially even showing like how vast of the ocean is, like they're really like just a drop if you think about it. What I also really liked is how Matt Damon's performance, like you see the agony, you see like the passion, you see like
stupidity.
The stupidity as well, honestly, and you see how he wants to get home. He wants to get his men home. He wants his men to be safe. And like, I really could feel that through his performance in this. And that's what made it real for me too. Is like, I really felt like they were on this boat. They're like going through these waters that are not kind, not friendly at all. And they're just really trying to get home as they go to each island. And that's something that I kind of found, not funny, but I guess as they're going to each island, I found that to be like, what challenges am I going to expect next? Or like, what's going to happen here?
Well, I mean, I think that's the whole point of it, right? Like the story of Odysseus, right? His journey home is a tough one. I didn't read the books, but I know enough from some cliff notes that he was basically, cursing the gods in a way, right? Like he went against Poseidon, like, you're right though, every island or everything that they would go to, the next thing, of course, is going to be wrong because he has to get home. So like, I think the story was predictable because, well, we know the story. We know what's going to happen. We know what has to happen and what will. And we know that Christoper Nolan didn't change that much of it. Yeah. So the story is still intact. We know Odysseus at some point must get home, but he's going to lose a lot. He loses
a lot of
himself, his men.
Too.
he loses a lot. He
And
almost
a lot
loses
of
his home,
years. Yeah,
right?
that's true.
He loses his home as well. So I feel like the journey was supposed to be kind of predictable. But again, like just talking about his journey now, seeing each thing that he went to, like, and one of my favorites was the giants. These like giant warriors with this crazy outfit on. You see in the trailer, they're wearing these like
the silver
impenetrable silver armor. It was kind of crazy to see. I don't know how accurate any of the costumes were, which I want to talk about as well. But that scene in particular was really cool because it starts off with like this kid who we think is like a young kid or young person.
I actually thought it was an adult.
Or an adult, actually. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, like behind, he's crouching down and Matt Damon, I forgot, Odysseus, sorry. Odysseus is literally...
Matt Damon.
Right, Matt Damon is coming up behind him and like as they're like, hey, excuse me, like we're just looking for food, and he gets up and stands and laughs, and that's when you see how tall he actually is.
Mind you, this kid that turns around to expose that he's a kid is like 6 foot. He's standing eye level to like our main warriors. Like Odysseus is looking this kid with a beard basically in the eye, and then he goes crying off because he's a child clearly.
Yeah.
And then we see the boys come down. Like the big huge giants. They were like at least 10 foot tall, at least like Avatar plus size maybe.
Definitely.
Really cool though. I think I wish they could have done a little bit more with each like island or scenario that they went to, because the giants were so cool looking that they didn't really battle them. They just ran away.
That's true.
But
Only
I think
for the ones in the silver suits, though, I felt like we got a lot of screen time with the big ogre in the beginning. Cyclops, yeah. I think that was like at least 3-4 times they were trying to escape, or they had like a few men escape, and then they were like, we'll leave some men behind, and then we'll try again next time when he wakes up and stuff. So I felt like that was like pretty, not drawn out, but it did feel pretty long compared to like what the other challenges or mythical creatures got. Like we didn't see the sirens, we didn't see... We
kind of seen the sirens.
Yeah.
So in this movie, there was a Cyclops, sirens, which are like mermaid sirens, giants.
The rock creatures.
So there's a name that we're missing. It maybe start with a C or an S. They said it. It's like someone's daughter maybe, or sister, like some kind of creature, because gods like to have intercourse with like weird things and make these abominations. So all these tales always end like that. Cyclops, you get the most screen time with in general because of the challenge of getting out of this cave that they were stuck in. Because of Odysseus's fault of trying to go a different route, they end up on this one specific island thinking, okay, well, we'll stop here for food, or find some food. There's one sheep or like it was a sheep, right?
Sheep
or
that
goat.
kind of led them into that cave.
So before killing the one sheep, they were like, you know what? This will lead us to more. There's a flock of them for sure. That led them to a cave where there's a Cyclops that comes in without their knowledge. It was very creepy. I think the build up of that scene alone was really cool because no one knows what's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, from the trailer, if you remember, there's like a brief shot, but like.
But if you didn't watch the trailer, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what is this?
There's another gory scene, so skipping ahead here, there's a scene where, again, going through all these different places, Odysseus, they need food because the people are dying.
Yeah.
They lost 2 other ships on their way back from the place with the giant warriors and the giant kid, right?
Yeah.
They ran away, they went around, like, I guess, I don't know if it's the same island or not, or it's just around the island that they were on, but that place in particular, they found a witch. This witch, they don't know it's a witch at first, but the men tell Odysseus, stay back because you've made enough problems for us. Our men have been killed. Our men are starving. And every time you make a decision, which is a poor one, like going back to the Cyclops, Odysseus shot the Cyclops in the eye, even though that they were already basically getting out of that cave.
They were free at that point. They could have just ran.
Because the Cyclops spit out a helmet that was from someone else. Odysseus shot an arrow, hit it in the eye, and it got pissed and chased them. The witch was literally taking the men and turning them into pigs or animals, because there was a cool shot of them going up to the actual witch's like hut on this island, this very like weird mystical island. There's like a lion, a cheetah or a cougar or something like that, and like a tiger, like a Siberian orange tiger.
And they weren't attacking at all. Yeah, that was odd. Yeah, very odd for sure. Right? They were just kind of like sitting there, looking more cautious than the men did, which was also really funny. Yeah,
so it was basically an entire island of animals that were humans at one point, because this witch turns everyone who stops there and eats her meat into the animals that are like within them, right? Because she was saying that like these soldiers are pigs, they they've raped, they've pillaged, they've killed for you, they've done all these different
Yeah.
things for you, so they're pigs to me. These soldiers are pigs.
And so that scene, I think, was also really well done because then...
The camera work.
Yeah, the camera work was really good. And then also, like, when Odysseus goes and says, like, he doesn't say, I came with men. At first he says, I came alone. And I really thought that was, like, a smart move because to show that, like, where are they? In a way, and kind of like question the switch. And so I really liked the fact that with the sound design again, with like the pigs hitting the door and like just how loud it was getting and the bird chirping.
Because I don't think we mentioned it, but Odysseus actually stays back at the boat. His men basically cause like somewhat of a mutiny and tell him, you know what, you've made enough problems for us. Stay with the boat. We'll check on this place. You don't, you know, basically shoot another Cyclops or something, right? So obviously Odysseus finds out that this island is not what it seems to be after he kills a deer, because the deer turns into a human.
Yeah.
It just turns into a human right there. He's like, oh man. And he runs for his people. But, you know, he's a little bit too late at that moment.
Yeah.
However, he was able to turn it around after, like you said.
Which I actually didn't expect. I thought she was going to say that they're stuck like this now.
Yeah.
And that she would have had, I mean, he would have had to leave them behind. So I thought her turning them back and then they like left. I was like, oh, I did not see that coming.
So skipping ahead, like, you know, obviously Odysseus has to come home. There are these suitors, these men who, you know that Odysseus has been away for so long. So they've taken over his place, his home, and are waiting for his wife to just say, okay, I'll choose you, right? But there are so many of them doing like just bad stuff in that place. They're taking it over, eating all the food, rowdy, abusing the people there, and it was just a bad sign, a bad scene rather. And Odysseus finally comes back, and he doesn't come back as himself. He comes back as like a beggar,
and that
incognito.
Was because of the advice that he got too, right? I can't remember from who.
There is so much that happens in this movie. It's hard to say in a spoiler review without being like an hour long, but let's just say there's a scene where the witch basically tells him, if you'd like to get home because you're so lost, you must go to Hades. She said like there's a place with like fire meets water or something like that, which was Hades, and we got to see him talking to dead characters, Agamemnon, Sinon, which you know, I'm not going to get into that character, or maybe we'll talk about characters briefly, but just a scene where they're talking and getting information, and then he finally goes towards home. But on this path, he's basically told, no matter what you do, your men will die and you will live, because this is like basically the will of the gods. Yeah. Poseidon basically,
like, you will get home, but your men will not.
Yeah, and because he wants to get home so badly. Yeah. Right? They're like, we'll give you this, but you're not getting your men. Yeah. Right? It's like the gods play like a cruel trick the whole time where, hey, we know that you're in agony. Like when they went through the sirens, which you didn't really mention. Yeah. He was the only one who had his ears unplugged. Everyone else had his ears plugged. Yeah. But he was able to listen to the song, and he explained what he heard. The song was what he wanted. Yeah. You know, which was like to bring everyone home, to go home in general. But
and they were also telling him that you will never do that. So it's basically like the needs or your most deepest desires, and then telling you that you're never gonna get it. And so we see him like screaming and crying in agony, which I thought was also like really great performance.
So by the time he comes home, he actually finally ends up meeting his son, because he catches up with him at a, you know, like an altar type of thing.
I thought could have been a better interaction there, especially coming from the son who's played by Tom Holland, and like it's kind of like he realizes that that's his dad when there's this dog that his dad had, and this dog, everyone has said like he's just waiting to see Odysseus again and then he'll die. And so when he returns and he's petting the dog, and the dog finally takes his last breath and dies, it's when his son realizes like, oh my god, you are Odysseus. And so like the fact that he didn't like go in for a hug, I don't know, maybe I'm thinking like this is not the right era for that. But it was just a quiet like assurance or realization like, oh my god, you're my dad, and that was it. So
I think it was because they were trying to be incognito, because he didn't want to come out that he's Odysseus yet until the ending, which was like this whole bow scene. So in the beginning of the movie, Odysseus' trick is that he's the only one who could bend this bow and string it, because it's a hard bow and you have to pull it down really like in a certain way. There's a trick to it. Yeah. And only he's been able to do it so far. So he does it, strings the bow, and he shoots an arrow through a bunch of axes that are like kind of like angled on each other, so there's like a hole through 12 different axes and hit a target.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the movie, he does it, and then to prove that he is Odysseus, he ends up stringing the bow and then shooting it through the axes to win back his wife. But all the suitors there were basically like stunned that this is actually Odysseus, that he came back, and they're scared of him. They're completely scared. They think that this guy is a legend, living legend in front of him, but they're still willing to die and try to fight him to win his wife and to win the kingdom.
To
because
win literally the kingdom, and be a king and take his place.
But let's just say that didn't happen for any of them.
Nope.
He destroyed them all. He got stabbed a bunch of times.
Yeah.
He got stabbed and shanked a bunch of times. I thought he was going to die. Legitimately, I thought he got stabbed in the neck one time. It looks like he kind of did. Stomach, back,
even the
sides.
last scene where like everything has kind of calmed down and he gets up and you see the 2 arrows sticking out of his back.
Oh, I thought he was dead.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my god.
And he's stumbling over to Anne Hathaway, his wife.
Yes.
And it looks like he falls over, but he's just tired.
Yeah.
I think he's just tired. This guy throughout the whole movie,
man,
he just went through everything. So we think at the end he's dying, but what it turns out to be is he just wants the final wish with his wife to be exiled, to go off and sail off and live a peaceful life now, not as a king anymore or a queen, just as people, and have his son, Tom Holland, take the throne as king. Yeah, I don't think, again, the acting took me out of it. I think everything was great.
No, the accents were fine. Like, I didn't really, except for John Bernthal.
John Bernthal is one of my favorite actors, and I feel like, out of all the people, I thought that wouldn't bother me.
But his accent was
crazy.
Very New York still.
Very still Punisher. Like, let me tell you something. Like Shane from Walking Dead. You know? John Bernthal Punisher. Like, it sounded like him.
Yeah.
And it's funny that he's a character that took me out, because I know it's Odysseus' story, Matt Damon, but I was shocked at like how little the characters that I thought would be terrible didn't really matter. I mean, they mattered because they progressed the story, but there was no focus on them besides under 5 minutes. I don't think Lupita, Elliot Page, or maybe John Bernthal had like maybe more than 5 minutes of screen time, actually, right? This is a long movie, and they weren't the focus, so I was happy about that. And
for Lupita's character, one thing I'll mention too, as she's playing Helen, I did like that she apologized for like all the chaos and the war that she caused, and she knows that she caused that war, because we watched Troy about like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, and like to see how so many men basically went to war because she left the kingdom and fell in love. And that just created all of this.
Yeah, how many people died for Helen of Troy, right? Yeah. But in this movie, they even say, like, this is the face that launched 1,000 ships. And then John Bernthal's character, unfortunately, he beat her up a lot, turns her head to the other side, and he's like, well, maybe 500 now. Yeah. Right? Because she was so beat, so she's not as beautiful as she once was, but it's like a punishment for the men that have been slaughtered in her name, right? Which this is a little bit different than Troy with Brad Pitt, so it's not exactly a one-to-one transition or sequel. It's its own thing. I think all the haters in the comments, the trailers, the dislikes, is not that bad. And trust me, I'm a person who's a stickler for good period pieces, and I'm a mixed black and white person, but I like to see white people in medieval times and white looking Greek type people in those time periods, but this didn't really matter. It was a fantasy movie. There's creatures everywhere. You know what? Hey, Travis Scott was also kind of funny. I just thought that was a funny choice.
And let me say, he is the first person you will see in the film. And
the first human face you see is Travis Scott.
From a black frame, it's Travis Scott right next. Like, so that for me, I like immediately smiled and laughed because I'm like, no way they decided to start this film with Travis Scott.
There's also another scene, now that we're talking about funny scenes, I can't remember the actor's name, I'll put it up on one screen. There's a scene where he's talking to someone that they're trying to get food from, or like in their village. Like, they basically came off the sea, raided this sea, or not raided the sea. They raided the village. Yeah. This guy he's talking to, he goes, "It's okay. We're all Greeks here." You look around the room or the area that they're in. There's an Indian guy, an Asian guy, a couple Scots maybe, an Irishman guy. Like, we're diverse. Greeks. This is diverse Greeks. Yes. Right, so I find that funny. I think some other people might have had a little chuckle at that line, because it was like right to the camera, basically.
It was really right to the camera. It was perfectly framed as he's
We're all
talking
Greeks
there.
here. It's like if I said that. Yeah. No, the acting, people are going crazy over it. It wasn't that bad. See the movie yourself and find out if you like it or not. It won't take you out of it, in my opinion. It's just small little parts that like questionable at best, but doesn't hurt the story. The story is still strong.
Everyone's performances really like made this film what it is, including Zendaya. We didn't really talk about her playing Athena.
There wasn't much to talk about, but she does play a goddess, goddess Athena. They did that really well. It's a lot of complicated stuff to talk about, but basically she's a mirage in a sense. Well, she's a god. She's a goddess to Odysseus. So as Odysseus goes on his journey, they kind of interact. But it's more of like, she's not the focus either. She's someone that takes the story from A to B to C, right? Yes. She helps guide our main character through all these troubles as he travels to different places on the boat going through it. She's helping him stay alive, stay active, and whatever. There's also Calypso, the Charlize Theron's character. I forgot what she was playing. That she was in it. But she's playing, I think, Calypso, and I forget that's a goddess or not, but someone that's keeping him like a goddess. Yeah, someone that's also keeping him on this island before he can go back and remember to go help his people.
She's feeding him lotus flowers, which clouds your mind.
But again, though, all these actors that we're naming, I think, did it good at their role. I don't think there's a part that really took me out, besides maybe Travis Scott, maybe John Bernthal at times, where I just kind of laugh because I'm a big fan of him. So I know his accent. It's just funny. I was waiting for him to say its iconic line. You know, I was waiting for it. Before we wrap this up, just visually, and maybe actually something that bothered me visually, I noticed. The fault of our technology right now with IMAX 70mm is that we only are allowed to film, I think, for 3 minutes long. 3 minute takes on roughly. So I feel like some of the shots in this film suffer from that, because you can tell that there's a lot of cuts where there probably shouldn't be, because some films like Troy, right? Big epic battles, or big like wide frame shots and acting, blah blah blah, whatever. It felt rushed. It felt cut. There's a scene, an intimate scene with Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway before he goes off to war, and you could tell it like they wanted to do an intimate sex scene or something like that, but they didn't. And because I felt like the camera can't do more than 3 minutes, they couldn't do a long enough take for me to actually believe that that's what I'm about to see or seeing, because it was just cut.
And one thing too is like for that scene particularly is like when they cut, I felt like they weren't. There was one moment where they didn't cut from like a different frame. I mean, sorry, like size, because it was like a medium to like less of a medium. I don't know. It was.
There was a couple of those shots too. Focus pulling
was terrible.
I wouldn't say it was terrible. There's moments where it was just fine, but I think there's a couple slow moments for some reason we caught. I don't know if it's like intentional or not. We'll have to maybe watch a video.
There's one scene with Robert Pattinson where there's a man behind him and they're talking, and I think like to really focus in on what that like Robert's saying and the other guy's saying, it's like the focus puller was like going from like one character to the next, but either it was too slow or it was just. I did not like that. It
wasn't like they missed the focus, but it was just kind of an odd choice.
It was focused, but it was just slow to him and then back to him and then
dramatic slow. I didn't find it that bad. I'm a cinematographer, and looking at the quality of this camera just blew me away every time. Thinking about how they move from point A to point B. Do they use a crane, a dolly? Like how do they move these shots? There's so many scenes where I'm like, man, they're moving fast. Oh man, there's a lot of water. Oh man, there's this, there's that. I'm just thinking about how big this camera is, how loud the camera is. They designed a blimp so they could suppress the sound. They used mirrors so they could do over-the-shoulder shots. Because half of these shots, I'm thinking, man, they're like right into people's like space. So in order to film like people like eye lines and stuff, they had to use mirrors, which I find so inventive and so intuitive.
Very
so
cool.
This was a first film ever to be shot entirely on 70mm IMAX, which is a feat in itself. I think the filmmakers deserve pat in the back and an award for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, visually this movie was stunning. If you could see it in IMAX 70mm or IMAX, do it. Don't see standard.
Do not do that.
I was saying that before I watched this movie. I was saying, standard, like you can probably get away with it, but you'd be missing out. You'd be hurting your own eyes, not seeing an IMAX.
And you're missing the big picture, which is the whole point. So.
Yeah. Review wise though, I think I would give this a solid 8 out of 10.
I agree. I would also give it an 8 out of 10.
Was not perfect by any means. This is contender probably for movie of the year, I can imagine.
Definitely.
A lot of Oscar bait. Like I think the diversity that they try to go for in this probably was Oscar bait. Watch it. This is you won't regret it. A lot of the stuff that's being said online right now, I don't agree with at all actually. There was no weird Travis Scott rap music or anything. Like there's this meme I saw about Fane or Fiend, whatever, being played throughout the movie. That's not the case.
Overall, beautiful movie. We gave it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah,
so
collectively.
let us know when you watch it and comment below what you think.
Yeah. So if you enjoyed today's video, please leave a thumbs up. Again, comment down below what you think. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss out on our latest uploads. We have reaction videos. We have review videos. We have a lot coming down the pipeline.
Yes.
And if you want to become a true Frame Invader, you actually subscribe to us on Patreon where we have full-length movie watch-alongs. Her first time going to be watching all the MCU and like other movies that she just hasn't seen, I haven't seen.
Countdown to Doomsday.
Countdown to Doomsday. I'm very excited for this. We're going to be rushing through all the Marvel movies as much as we can before Doomsday because you already know we're going to see that on the opening weekend. Come on.
Definitely.
Right? So, yeah, if you guys want to, stay tuned, subscribe, check us out. But for now, see you later.
See you later.